Snow blew sideways across the high plains, 1,000 white knives hissing through the dark. He didn't see her at first, only the flash of a shawl half buried in drift. His horse balked, nostrils flaring. That was when he caught the sound, thin as a moth's wing, a single breath that wasn't wind. He swung down from the saddle, boots sinking to the ankle. The shape in the snow was a woman, her hair matted to her face with frost, hands locked around something beneath her coat. She was trembling, but her eyes were open, glazed, defiant, as if she were daring the night to finish her. The cowboy, Evan Ryder, crouched, brushing snow from her cheek with a glove. She didn't flinch, only whispered, "Don't let them take it." Her lips were cracked and blue. He'd been riding for days with no destination, running from the echo of a man he'd once been. He didn't want a story. He didn't want trouble. Yet here she was, half dead in the snow, clutching a secret like a dying animal. A gust tore his hat off and rolled it down the slope. Evan swore softly and slid his arms beneath her, feeling how light she was, like lifting a bundle of sticks. Beneath her coat he felt the edge of a box or a book. He couldn't tell which, but her fingers tightened around it even in unconsciousness. He stood, cradling her against his chest. Snowflakes hissed against his coat. His horse snorted and shifted, ears flicking. In the distance, faint but certain, came the low thunder of hooves. More than one rider, moving fast. Evan turned toward the sound, squinting into the white blur. He couldn't see them yet, but he knew the rhythm, a hunt, not a patrol. Whoever they were closing in. He adjusted her weight in his arms, swung back into the saddle with a grunt. She didn't stir. "Don't let them take it," she murmured again, barely audible against the wind. The hoofbeats grew louder. Shapes flickered on the horizon, dark figures against a blizzard. Evan tightened his grip on the reins. He had a choice: drop her and vanish into the storm, or ride straight into someone else's war. From the wideout behind him came a gunshot, dull and heavy, like a door slamming. Evan's horse lurched at the crack of the gunshot, hooves scraping ice. He pressed a calming hand to the mare's neck and looked over his shoulder. Through the gauze of snow he caught the flash of a lantern, then another. The riders were closer than he'd thought, for maybe 5 of them, moving in a fan to hem him in. The woman's head lolled against his shoulder. She wasn't fully conscious, but her fingers still clutched at whatever she hid under her coat. Evan tried to peel them back just enough to see, but she gave a weak hiss like a cornered cat and held on tighter. He swallowed a curse. "All right," he murmured. "Keep your secret." Another shot cracked through the night, closer. Snow leapt from a rock to his left. They weren't just tracking, they were warning. He yanked the reins, guiding the mare off the trail into a narrow draw where the snow lay deeper, but the wind cut less. Hooves thundered behind. The mare stumbled, caught herself. Every instinct told him to drop her in the snow and let the men claim whatever they were after. No badge, no debt, no ghosts would follow him if he just rode on. The high plains were good for erasing faces. He'd erased plenty himself. But then she stirred against him, and for a moment her eyes opened, green, fever-bright. "Please," she rasped. Not for herself, he realized, but for the thing she guarded. Evan's jaw clenched. He thought of the day he'd walked away from the war, saddle empty but for a single child's toy he'd found in a burned-out cabin. He'd told himself he was done carrying the lost, yet here he was, arms full of another stranger's fight. He angled the mare toward the black line of pines ahead. If he could make the timber, he might lose them. But the wind shifted, carrying men's voices, and he knew the gap was closing. A third shot cracked, splintering a branch just above his head. Bark rained down like sparks. "Hold on," he muttered to the woman, digging his heels into the mare. The horse lunged into a gallop, snow sprang like surf. Behind him, a horn blew, a long, low note that meant they weren't just chasing now. They were signaling. The hunt was tightening. "Rider!" a voice bellowed through the storm. "You got something belongs to us!" The shout rolled over the snow like cannon fire. Evan hunched low over the mare's neck, her mane whipping his face. The pine line loomed ahead, dark, sheltering, a chance, but the ground there broke into gullies and hidden stone. If the mare stumbled under this weight, they'd both be finished. The woman stirred, coughing weakly. "They'll kill you," she whispered. Her breath steamed against his coat. "Wouldn't be the first time they tried," he muttered, scanning the white swirl behind them. Shapes flickered in and out of the storm, men on horseback, scarves over their mouths, rifles angled high. They weren't deputies. They were trackers, hard-eyed and silent except for that one voice, whoever led them. The pines swallowed him at last, needles thick with frost. He ducked low to keep from being swept off by branches. Snow muffled the mare's hoofbeats. For a few heartbeats it was only the hiss of wind through the boughs, his own pulse hammering in his ears. Then came the new sound, bells, no spurs, clinking slow and deliberate. Someone was already in the trees. Evan reined in, letting the mare's breathing quiet. He slid off, keeping the woman cradled in one arm, his other hand hovering near the revolver. She weighed almost nothing now. Her eyelids fluttered but didn't open. The spurs stopped. "Drop her," a voice said from the shadows. It wasn't a shout this time. It was low, coaxing. "Take your horse and go. Nobody'll follow." Evan turned his head, trying to find the source. "Why?" he called softly. A shape stepped from behind a spruce, broad hat, oilskin coat slick with snow. The man's rifle stayed down but ready. "Because what she's holding ain't worth dying for," he said. "Hand her over and you can vanish back into whatever hole you crawled out of." Evan's thumb slid over the hammer of his revolver. He thought of all the holes he'd crawled out of, all the ghosts still waiting in them. He tightened his grip on the woman instead. "Not today," he said. The rifle came up fast. Evan ducked behind the trunk just as a bullet punched through the bark, spraying splinters across his face. More hoofbeats thundered up the ridge. Shadows moved in every direction. He was boxed in. Snow sifted down through the branches like ash. Evan crouched behind the spruce, the woman limp in his arms. The mare stamped nervously a few yards away, tethered to a low branch. Voices drifted closer, muted, but sure. He knew the men would fan out, circle behind, pinch him until there was no sky left. He eased her to the ground and crouched beside her. Her face was pale as the snow, lashes clumped with frost. He reached for the object under her coat. This time she didn't fight him. Her fingers opened slowly, revealing a small leather-bound book, its cover worn but gilded at the edges. Evan frowned. Not gold, not money. A diary? Her cracked lips moved. "It's proof." "Proof of what?" he whispered. She swallowed, eyes fluttering. "Dillard's land claims. Murder." The word rasped like sandpaper. "They'll hang me if they get it back." "Burn it, please." Evan thumbed the book's cover, snow melting on the leather. He thought of all the charred deeds and forged papers he'd seen during the war, of families erased by a signature. He could burn it. End this now. Walk away. But she stared at him with those fevered green eyes, searching his face for something she wasn't sure she'd find. "You're not like them," she whispered. For a moment the storm seemed to fall silent. Evan felt the weight of the book in his palm, the weight of her head against his knee. He thought of the toy horse still in his saddlebag, of a child's laugh he would never hear again. He slipped the book inside his own coat, close to his heart. "I'm not," he said quietly. Her breath caught. She reached up, fingers grazing his cheek, a gesture so small it undid something hard inside him. "Why?" she asked. "Because somebody's got to carry it," he murmured. Boots crunched in the snow beyond the trees. Lantern light flared between the trunks. Evan felt her hand tremble as she tried to sit up. "Stay down," he said softly, tucking her back against the roots of the spruce. "I'll draw them off." She clutched at his sleeve, weak but insistent. "Don't die for me." He met her eyes, a thin smile under his stubble. "Don't plan on it. Lanterns swayed closer, rifles glinting. Evan rose slowly, snow cascading from his coat. Evan stepped out from the trees, revolver low at his side, snow sliding off his hat brim. The lantern light caught his face, hard and calm, and for an instant the men froze as if seeing a ghost walk upright. "I'm leaving," he said evenly. "She stays safe. You go home." One of the riders spat. "You don't get to set the terms, rider." Evan's gaze flicked to the leader, the man in the oilskin coat. "You work for Dillard?" The leader's jaw tightened. "I work for whoever pays." Evan thumbed back the hammer. "Then you're about to work for the snow." Silence. The mare snorted behind him. The woman's faint breathing came from the roots of the spruce. The first shot didn't come from Evan. It cracked from the left, a muzzle flash lighting the trees. He dropped, rolled, and fired twice. The man with the lantern screamed and toppled from his horse. The rest scattered, rifles barking. Snow exploded around Evan as bullets tore into trunks. He moved like a memory of himself, low and relentless, his revolver finding shapes in the dark. Two riders bolted, their courage snapping. The leader remained, stepping into the open, rifle raised. "Last chance!" he shouted. Evan's shot struck the rifle, splintering the stock. The man staggered cursing, and Evan closed the distance, boot crunching through the snow until they were face to face. "No more chances," Evan said, voice quiet now. "Tell Dillard if he wants this book he can come stand where you're standing." The man hesitated, saw something in Evan's eyes, and backed away. One by one, the others melted into the storm, their hoofbeats fading like thunder rolling off a mountain. Evan lowered his revolver. The snow was red in places, but the woman was untouched. He returned to her side, crouched and lifted her gently. She blinked at him, tears freezing on her cheeks. "You stayed," she whispered. "I told you," he said. "Somebody's got to carry it." He mounted the mare with her in his arms. The pines swallowed them, then opened to the vast, pale sweep of the high country. Dawn was a thin ribbon on the horizon, promising a hard but honest ride north. Years later, folks in Montana whispered about a quiet man and a green-eyed woman who built a small place by the river. They said papers changed hands, land was restored, and Dillard's name vanished from the ledgers. The last frame of their story would be a single image, two sets of footprints in the snow leading away from the trees, the wind already beginning to cover them, but never quite erasing them.